It's The Drive. My name is Paul Van Wagner. B-Rye is in the other studio taking your calls at 866-961-1430. 866-961-1430. That's the number if you want to participate.
Everybody to the Wild Wild West. A state that's untouchable like Elliot Ness. The track hits your eardrum like a slug to your chest. Like a vest for your Jimmy in the city of sex. We in that sunshine state where the bomb M10 be. The state where you never find a dance floor empty and pimp speed. On a mission for them greens. Lean, mean, money making machines, serving fiends. I've been in the game for 10 years making rap tunes. Ever since Honeys was wearing Sassoon. Now it's 95 and they clock me and watch me diamond shining. Looking like a Rob Liberace. It's all good from Diego to the Bay.
You can also text us. The AA automatic transmission Kabuki Japanese Steakhouse text line is open and ready to serve you. That number is also 866-961-1430. We're talking fashions. We're talking winners and losers. Scott Nason is here. We must be talking Royal Rumble. Am I right?
I think so, Paul. I'm very excited to talk about the Royal Rumble, one that I believe the WWE got right in several ways, and I'd love to explain why and how.
All right. The floor is yours, sir. I would love to hear your explanation as why and how for the Royal Rumble.
Well, going just to the Rumbles themselves, first of all, starting with the men's, I really thought that this was the best men's Royal Rumble in quite some time. I mean, I think just from top to bottom, they did it right. The winner, Shinsuke Nakamura, who should have won, who the fans wanted to win. He needed that major bump up and push. He got it, and he did it against the second competitor that was, or the final two, was Roman Reigns, which nobody, at least most people, didn't want to win, something that we saw before a few years ago. I think they did it right. It sets up a very appetizing and possibly the best match of WrestleMania, at least that we know of so far, against AJ Styles, who retained his SmackDown title. You have Nakamura and Styles. That is just going to be a fantastic bout. And then going to the Women's Royal Rumble, I mean, you saw a lot of surprises as far as people that you didn't think you would see. And, again, I think they got it right. Asuka won. They kept her streak intact, where she hasn't lost in any matches at NXT and WWE. And, of course, the big news, the one that got the headlines, the debut of Ronda Rousey. We talked about on Friday. We knew that that was probably going to happen because anytime somebody says they're not going to be there in the WWE, more than likely they are.
Yep.
Who she's going to face in WrestleMania, it's still a question. Some are saying possibly Charlotte Flair, who's the SmackDown champ. Others are saying it's going to be a mixed tag team, which I kind of think it will be, involving Stephanie McMahon, probably Triple H. So at least those two things I thought the WWE got right. Was it perfect? No, it never is. But I like the direction it's going towards heading into tonight's Raw, tomorrow's SmackDown, and, of course, the road to WrestleMania.
Well, I think Ronda Rousey faces whomever Asuka doesn't choose. That was kind of the feeling that I got as that ended, because you had both champions in the ring with Asuka, with Ronda Rousey. Asuka obviously has her choice of which one she wants to fight. I got a feeling they set up Ronda Rousey to take on the other one, and I think we'll know tonight whether or not Ronda Rousey will be on Raw or SmackDown.
I think so, and I think WrestleMania and the WWE want to get those major headlines for WrestleMania, and that's where I really push towards the Stephanie McMahon angle with Triple H, and then a partner of Rousey's choosing. Who knows, maybe that's where Batista comes back. There are rumors of that, or another big name that's currently on the roster, and that will be the headline-grabbing match, at least for the media, because that's what the WWE wants. They want more viewers, and something like that definitely will get them just that.
If you smell what The Rock is cooking.
I certainly hope so, Paul. I know with The Rock, though, he does have some insurance issues as far as if and when he wrestles again, which we haven't seen, because one wrong move and it could end a lot of things for The Rock, including his presidential run in 2020, which I'd be interested in. But I would love to see The Rock. You want to talk about headlining events? Rousey and The Rock versus Triple H and Stephanie, bring it, baby. I am all on board that one.
Yeah, definitely. That definitely makes sense. I do like the fact that with Shinsuke Nakamura winning and taking on AJ Styles, that also opens us up for the fact that Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar can continue this feud. I think a lot of people were anticipating the Braun Strowman Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns championship match at WrestleMania. I think that this kind of deflects that a little bit and gives us Braun and Brock for a little while longer, because let's face it, Brock Lesnar's not showing up to the not Hell in a Cell, but whatever the next pay-per-view is there where they put him in the cage, the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, correct. And I hope you're right, Paul. I mean, all signs have pointed up until last night for Reigns and Lesnar again at WrestleMania. I certainly hope they don't go that direction. I still think that's the direction they're going to go. They continue to push Roman Reigns to probably his limit because he's just not catching on. I mean, they've tried to possibly turn him heel. But Braun Strowman's really the one you want to watch out for. It may not even happen at this WrestleMania, but he's got all the push. He's got all the momentum right now. And, you know, maybe they put the Intercontinental title on him at WrestleMania against The Miz or whoever has it there. I don't know, but I'm a big Strowman fan. I hope they push him sooner rather than later.
Now, I have a couple of questions for you, and I'm curious, what did you think of Kofi Kingston's not getting eliminated before he got eliminated? Kofi has been a human highlight reel at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, he really is, and, you know, he's a fun performer. I don't know how much more they can go with the New Day. I figured they got to maybe change directions at some point with them, although they are still very popular. But, yeah, Kofi Kingston always has some of his more enjoyable moments, and unpredictable moments at Royal Rumble, so I thought they did a good job with that as well.
Rey Mysterio looked jacked, at least as jacked as a dude that's 5'2" can look. Rey looked good, man.
He really did. That one surprised me a little bit. I didn't think that he would be one of the ones coming back. There were rumors that he was available. Now the question is this just a one-off for Rey, or are they going to push him, or is he going to be a part of the WWE scene? Here's kind of a curveball talking about Braun Strowman. Maybe they continue to go with the Lesnar-Reigns match. How about a Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Strowman? Now, we've seen him do that in the past with some of the bigger ones. I think the Big Show comes to mind, maybe the Great Khali. That would be a very interesting angle, and again, one that would probably get a lot of attention come WrestleMania.
Well, I think the big thing with Rey Mysterio, and I think where the WWE really needs him right now, Scott, is with the departure of Enzo Amore, you now need a face of the cruiserweight division, and Rey Mysterio 100% could and would be that guy if they decided to go that route.
I agree, Paul. I mean, they've been trying to push that division. They start to get some momentum, and then, of course, we all know what happened to Mr. Amore, or at least his character known as Enzo Amore, and it's just a division that just doesn't have those performers. I mean, he had Neville a while back. Right. He hasn't been back. They've had to put Goldust in there. I mean, when you're putting, no offense to Goldust, I'm a big Goldust fan. When you're putting him in the cruiserweight division to try to get attention, you got some problems.
You got some issues, exactly. The one guy that I thought stole the show, at least early on in the Royal Rumble, Scott, and you got to give it to this guy. He sells like nobody's business, was Heath Slater.
Oh, you know what? And he's got kids too, Paul. I don't know if you know that, but he's got kids. But yeah, he's one of these guys. And again, I think the fans gravitate to guys like that, and you hear him get a lot of cheers, kind of along the lines of a Curtis Axel. Just a guy that's been around a while, that knows his role, not to quote The Rock, shuts his mouth in some ways. But yeah, he really sells it, and I thought that was another good part of the Royal Rumble. Again, I think WWE did this one about as perfectly as they could for at least the men's portion of the Royal Rumble. With the women's was darn good too.
So what were your thoughts on the women's thing? I was pleasantly impressed by the fact that they made the women's Royal Rumble the main event for this Royal Rumble.
Well, you know, and I think this really leads to the question, maybe at some point, I don't know if it's going to happen this year, how about an all-women's pay-per-view?
Yep.
That would be something I think very interesting to see if the WWE would do to obviously highlight Royal Rumble, one of the big three of the pay-per-views, is good. Charlotte Flair's talked about many times wanting to highlight being the main event of WrestleMania. Will that happen this year? Probably not. But you know, the women's wrestling right now is good, and bringing some of these older names back. I mean, heck, I'm always I'm all about seeing Trish Stratus and Tori Wilson in any role, especially in the ring. And, and I thought that was good. Her and Mickie James, Trish Stratus and Mickie James. You saw Lita, Kelly, among others. I mean, I thought it was well done. I think you might see something happen with Sasha Banks. You saw it a little bit in that Rumble, kind of a heel turn. I think she's better when she's a heel rather than a face, and I would love to see the boss, Sasha Banks from NXT, with that attitude and that kind of swag come back and really mix it up in the women's division.
I said the over-under on the Braun Strowman, Kane, Brock Lesnar match was going to be 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Scott Nason, do you know how long the match actually lasted?
I don't, Paul. I think I said a little tiny bit over. What was it?
It was about 9 minutes. It was about a 9-minute long match. So a little bit longer than I think most people expected, a lot longer than most Brock Lesnar matches last. The good news is that even the tables wouldn't sell for Kane.
No, and Kane's put in a lot of good years in the WWE, but he goes along the line of the performers like Mark Henry and The Big Show. Make a cameo appearance here and there, but best wrestling days, foregone conclusion.
So overall, what do you give this? If you were to be a teacher at some point in your life, Scott Nason, and you had to give the Royal Rumble a grade, what are you giving the Royal Rumble?
I'd give it an A-. It wasn't perfect, but it surprised me in many ways. It was one of those shows. I mean, obviously a 3+ hour pay-per-view has some points where it gets a little slow, but overall I thought the product was good. It sets up a very interesting couple nights on TV, and we're only a couple months away from WrestleMania, so I thought they did a good job after kind of not doing a good job on the 25th anniversary of Raw and some of the other storylines. I think they got it right last night.
I agree. Switch gears here real quick. I'm running short on time, but I did want to get your thoughts on the fact that Roger Federer ends up winning the 2018 Australian Open, becomes the second oldest man to win a major since 1968, just behind the very well-known Ken Rosewall, who won the 1972 Australian Open at the age of 37 years and 62 days. Federer, 36 years, 173 days. Your thoughts on Federer continuing to roll along in his post-30s?
Yeah, he really is. He's rolling along nicely. It was a good final against Cilic, a guy that, Federer does beat quite often. It went 5 sets, but Federer cruised 6-1 in the 5th. You kind of knew after Nadal got knocked out and Djokovic early that it was really Federer's tournament to lose, but he was solid and steady, playing some of his best tennis. And, you look at the rest of the campaign, French Open, not his best surface if he's going to lose one there, but Wimbledon, U.S. Open, as long as he's healthy, hey, Federer could get 2, maybe 3 this year, add to that total, joining the women that have over 20 Grand Slams, including Margaret Court, Serena Williams, and Steffi Graf. Federer, the first man to do it. So it was a good tournament, and happy to see Mr. Federer do well. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, our next one is Wimbledon, right, or is it the French Open?
French Open's in late May. This is the biggest gap in the calendar. I mean, there's other tournaments, but you have that one in late May, early June, and then you have Wimbledon late June, early July.
Well, it's getting fired up for tennis season. I believe spring training for baseball starts in just a couple of weeks. We've got the Daytona 500 just around the corner, which means NASCAR Steve will make a triumphant return to our airwaves. There's lots going on in the sports world. Plus, I think there might be a football game coming up here next week. Or this weekend?
I believe so. Yeah, I think it has like an L and a couple I's in it. But Super Bowl, that's Super Bowl Sunday. Now, Patriots Eagles.
Now, real quick before I let you go, so we have it on record here. Do you have the greatest of all time, Michigan quarterback alum Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl, or some guy named Foyer or something like that? Who you got in this one, Scott?
The GOAT, Tom Brady, give me New England by 11.
There you go. Mark it down, boys and girls. Scott, where can our listeners hear more from you, sir?
Well, tonight we'll have a new edition of our sports show, The Game, talking all sorts of things, including a couple of the topics that we just discussed. And you can find that at snason, that's NASON.Podomatic.com.
As always, my man, I appreciate you doing this. Look forward to chatting with you again real soon.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Paul. Stay healthy down there. I hear you got that swine flu or whatever's going around. Keep it down there, but hey, wash your hands.
I just have to stop making out with Brian, and we'll be just fine.
Sounds good.
All
Have
right.
a great week, guys.
Take care, Scotty. Talk to you soon. Scott Nason joining us here every week on The Drive.
Carrying the message to other sports junkies.
Yeah, baby!
This is ESPN.